Hey guys. Okay, so there is a bit of a delay, but we are just going to work with it. I'm still kind of figuring out the whole OSB thing here. So welcome to the video about marriage, the Q&A about marriage. So I've hidden your chat, but go ahead and chat with each other. I'm going to run through my questions and all the things I want to talk about, and then we will get to a live dialogue at the end here. But I have some books to talk about. I have some announcements to make in the morning, or not in the morning, first. And I'm just really excited to be back live with you guys. I actually have a dentist appointment tomorrow. My mouth is still very inflamed and I don't really know why. So I'm hoping to get some more answers tomorrow with the dentist because, you know, they're mouth experts. But I am able to talk. I'll do my best. So I have so much to talk about, so let's just pop right into all of this. The first thing I want to tell you guys about is the 54-day Rosary Novena that is starting November 1st. Really important. We're praying for America. So many things to say, but everything is linked down in the description box. I've already linked everything up so you can get to this website. You can find the Mary's Mantle consecration book if you want to do that as well. And we will start that. I will let you guys know when we actually start, but it's a very important novena that we're starting November 1st, and it ends on Christmas Eve. Okay, and we're also fasting on Fridays, going to confession. It's all on the website. Or you can watch the video below as well that I linked that will tell you all about it from the brother priest there, the Blount. I think I'm saying that right. Blount brother priest. All right. That's the first thing. Second thing, I have been talking about this all over social media. The Warning is the book to read if you are Catholic, especially right now. There's two reasons I want you to read this book. One, it's prophesied that the warning will likely happen during our lifetime. Of course, we don't know. It's private revelation, and of course, we don't have to listen to them. But it's important to kind of be aware. I think it'd be a good book for everybody to read, just in case it actually does happen. But also, this book, in the last 48, 72 hours, has changed my faith walk and changed Ryan's faith walk a lot. Like, he's talking about going to confession more. He's talking about praying more. This is a book that, well, I think no matter what, whether you believe the illumination consciences or the idea of the warning or not, I think it will take you I know it'll take you to a deeper place with your faith walk. So for that reason alone, I am really, really recommending it. I have had this on Audible since before the summer, and I had so much spiritual warfare fighting against me reading this book, and I'm finally listening to it, and I got Ryan to listen to it, so I'm trying to keep up with him. And it's been really good. So really want to recommend that. Okay. We have so many things to talk about. Okay. So many things. So these two books are the books I go to when it comes to marriage. One, The Proper Care and Feeding of Husbands by Dr. Laura, and Fascinating Womanhood. I've talked about both on social media, especially on Instagram, but you guys, here we are. We're going to talk about it today. We're going to answer some questions. I'm going to pray that my mouth cooperates. But if you need a book on marriage, you can't go wrong with either of these. The only caveat with Dr. Laura is her idea of number of children is opposite to church teaching. Church teaching is you take a vow when you get married to be open to life. If one of you wants a child, you have a child. Dr. Laura is the opposite. So disregard anything she says about number of kids, but otherwise her advice in there is phenomenal and very, very helpful as women. And it is a very easy read. It is, it's an easy read. It's fun to read. If you've ever listened to Dr. Laura, she writes like she talks. And then Fascinating Womanhood, this is what it looks like if you get the paperback, but I suggest the Kindle version because her daughter tweaked it a little bit. Okay, we're going to jump right into, I'm going to check my stream real fast and make sure that everything's okay. All right, I see where you guys are at. Oh, Okay, it's acting like it's having a hard time, so we'll just see how this goes. First question I got was, how do you keep your mouth shut in your marriage? And my answer is humility, 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 humility. If you study humility, if you pray the humility, the litany of humility, you will get to a place where you realize that your opinion isn't that great. He doesn't want it. He doesn't, unless he asks your opinion, he doesn't need to know your opinion. Like, you're just not that special. And a lot of times we talk because we have a lot of like self-righteous tendencies. We think we know better than him. We think, I'm speaking mostly to wives, obviously, but we think we know better. We think we have something to say. It all comes from pride. So study humility, and that will really help with the whole speaking when you shouldn't speak. The other thing is learning to accept him 100%. Like, don't, like right now, as of today, this very minute, stop trying to change your husband. In Fascinating Womanhood, this is the whole first kind of big section of the book. I just finished it today. I've read this book. This is my third time reading this book, and it still hits me like a ton of bricks every single time. I have a challenge for you. If you want to challenge yourself, go to your husband or your boyfriend or your fiance and ask him, do you feel like I accept you 100%? If he answers no, listen to what it is that makes him not feel accepted and work on that. Okay, I got to run through these fast because there's a lot of questions here. Was Ryan Catholic before marriage? Yes, he was, but I'm just going to tell you the short version. So when we first started dating, I was 17 and he was 18. We were both liberal Democrats, but I was very pro-life. And I told him, one, like, I immediately started talking to him about being pro-life. Like, first date, I'm like, what do you think about abortion? Let's talk about it. Second thing is I told him, I'm Catholic. We are going to have a Catholic marriage, like wedding, sacramental marriage, and we are going to raise our kids Catholic. If you are not on board, there's the door. And that was, I think, the second date. I was 17. But when you're dating, there's no point messing around. Don't tiptoe around these really big issues. So when we got engaged, he had no plans to go to RCIA. He was attending Mass with me every Sunday, but we were not, he was like, I'm not becoming Catholic. And I was a cafeteria Catholic at the time, but also I accepted that, and I was naive as well. I think it's really important to have a Catholic marriage if possible. But we visited my grandparents who were Catholic at the time, and after we got engaged, and on the way home, he said, your grandparents would really like it if I became Catholic. And I was like, I would like it if you became Catholic. So anyway, he entered RCIA, and he became Catholic in April, and we got married in July. So he was like a newbie Catholic when we got married. So we've always been Catholic together, but our faith has always not necessarily been on the same level until, I would say, recently. And I'll talk more about that in a little bit later. Okay, let's make sure this is still... All right. I don't know what's going on with my stream, but that's okay. We're going to keep going. How do you discern the right man? So Brian and I did not discern each other in the Catholic sense. Like I said, he wasn't really anything. I guess he said that if you pressed him, he would say that he believed in Jesus, but he wouldn't call himself a Christian. Like I said, I was kind of like a lukewarm cafeteria Catholic. Sorry about this line right here. So anyway, we did not discern each other, but I felt like we were 100% comfortable around each other very early on. We talked about marriage within 2 months of dating, and like I said, we were really young. And you really just want to find someone who you admire, that you are in awe of, that you respect, that you want to follow in life, you want to suffer with in life. I think suffering is probably 85% of life. The movies make it seem like marriage is all like this beautiful thing, or it's like this terrible thing. But on a day-to-day, they're suffering. And being able to find someone you want to suffer with like that you can walk through this valley of tears with is really important. I do not believe that there is like one person in this world for everybody. I think God will pair you up and, you know, can use whatever pairing is put together. But as Dr. Laura says, you choose wisely and then you treat kindly. So you really need to think through, like, is this somebody that I want to raise like 10 children with? Is this somebody that I want to spend every Sunday at Mass with? Is this somebody who, when he speaks in public, I am like, I respect him and I love him and I don't want to change him. If you are dating somebody that you plan on changing, walk away. That's so unkind to that person. You need to marry somebody who you love at face value. Doesn't mean they don't have flaws, but it means that you're loving them as they are. I'm just going to tell you a little story about how, so I've been married almost 15 years, 14 and a half. We've been together 20 years. When I first met Ryan, he was a liberal hippie, I guess, for better words. And I was like this, like I said, pro-life Democrat. And pro-life Catholic Democrat. And right before we got married, no joke, like within 6 months to 9 months before we got married, he was driving for a job and he was listening to Rush Limbaugh and all the guys. And he bought a gun. He started wearing cowboy boots and he liked country music. And I was like, what are you, oh, and he changed to a Republican on his voter registration. And I was like, what are you doing? What is this? But you know, the thing is you have to trust that you're not going to be the same person 15 years into marriage that you were when you guys got engaged. And Ryan and I have always been two people that have wanted to strive to be better than we were today, better tomorrow than we were today. And so as long as you can fully accept the other person and realize that you're both going to change and that you want to change together, then I think those are important things in discerning who you marry. And also I just want to say, like, think through like the qualities that you love about the person. Like, I admire Ryan's convictions, his ability to ignore peer pressure, his manliness, his competency with the world. I was a very naive girl at 17 regarding the world, and he knew so much more than I did. Okay. Ready? Let's see. The next question is, how do you know when you're ready for marriage? Okay, this is a good one. As a Catholic, I didn't know this, but I do now, so I'm going to share it with you. As a Catholic, you should not be getting married until you are ready to be a mother. Okay, you should not be getting married and he should not be marrying you until he is ready to provide and protect and raise a family with you. If you enter marriage and immediately start using NFP, you are contracepting. You need to be open to life. You should be able to get pregnant on your honeymoon. If not, wait. Wait a year, wait 2 years. But that is what a Catholic marriage is. You're taking a vow to be open to life. It doesn't mean that at some point along the line, you have to use NFP for one of the reasons that are listed, but overarchingly, you should not be contracepting at all and have any kind of contraception mindset. God gives you life, okay? God wills life. He will not give you a baby if it's not the right time. But when it is the right time, even if you don't know it's the right time, he will give you a baby. So that's one of the huge things is if you want to be married, you need to be ready to be a mother right now, in whatever circumstance you are in. The other thing is that marriage means when you get married, you are now living for the other person. You are self-sacrificing on a daily basis. For example, this morning, Ryan was going to work. I got up, did my prayers, and I made him breakfast and I made his lunch. And later I will make his dinner. And I cleaned the house and I took care of the kids. The things I did for myself today are very few and far between. So if you're not ready to self-sacrifice and live for somebody else and live a very deeply humble existence, don't get married yet. Let's see. Yeah, your dreams, I wrote down, your dreams are not your own once you're married. They're you and he as a couple. And so, like I said, it's a bit about dying to self. is beautiful and it's totally worthwhile, but it's a vocation. You don't get married just because you want to mess around or because it's the next thing or you want to wear a dress, you know? Okay. Next question. I'm almost done, guys. How do you avoid misunderstandings in marriage? Father Ripperger has an amazing video, I put it down below already, about spiritual warfare in marriage. The very first thing the demons are going to do in your marriage is that they are going to try to divide you. And he gives a story about how it's the man's birthday and the woman wants to surprise him with breakfast. So she goes upstairs and says, "When are you going to get up?" She just wants to know when she needs to have breakfast ready, but it's a surprise. He takes it as, "Oh my gosh, it's my birthday and she's trying to get me out of bed." Do you see how the demons kind of wedged in there and made them assume the worst? My cat's howling. So it's really important to assume the best at all times. Always assume the best. And if you are like hormonal or you've had a bad day or you're hungry, it's harder to do this, but that's of course also humility, right? When we assume that our spouses are saying something in like the worst possible light, that's where we're getting like a lot of pride coming in. Like pride has no place in marriage because it is not good. All right. Last thing someone asked me, and then we're going to flip around so I can talk to you guys, is what do I do if my husband is a non-practicing Catholic, pretty much atheist, agnostic, Protestant, you know, what do I do, right? The first thing is you have to stop trying to convert him. There is a lot of discussion in this book and in the one there with the woman on it. A lot of discussion about wanting your husband to go to church with you, or wanting your husband to convert, or wanting your husband to, you know, join your church. Men, and if you're a man, back me up on this, but men, need to be accepted 100%. And I'll talk about that in just a second, real quick. But 100% acceptance. Don't try to change him. Number 2, they need freedom. If they feel like you're somehow cajoling them or nagging them or hinting or being disapproving or criticizing, a lot of times men will do the opposite. They'll dig their heels in just because you're telling them to do something. They need their freedom. We are not their mothers, okay? We do not have, when you married someone, especially if you married someone and they're a different faith, you accept them as is. And so, Helen Adeline, the way she pictures this is that you picture your husband with 2 sides, right? He has like all his positive features that you love and admire and respect are on one side, and all of his flaws are on the other side. One side's bright, one side's dull. Turn your husband in your mind so that all you can see are his bright side. All you can see are the things you love, admire, appreciate on one side. And you ignore the flaws. And so if you think it's a flaw that he doesn't believe in Jesus Christ, or he doesn't go to Mass with you, or whatever, then turn it around and you live your faith well. You be joyful in your faith. Make the faith appealing from your own perspective. And just pray and surrender it to God, because God is knocking on his heart just as much as he's knocking on yours, just as much as he's moving in your life. But the minute you get and tell him, "I'm sorry that I've been trying to convert you. You are a smart, intelligent man. I married you because I trust you and I love you and I know that you are a good and worthy man. So I'm so sorry that I tried to force you into this faith walk when that's your personal relationship with Jesus. That's your personal relationship, and maybe you don't have one yet. And I have to trust that God's doing something there and that it's not my role to do anything." There is story after story in Fascinating Womanhood about that when women back off and stop, the men feel the freedom to finally move forward. There was a time where I was talking about Catholicism so much in our home that Ryan said, even if I wanted to share about something I listened to today, there's no room, there's no space, because you're taking up so much space with your words about the faith that I don't even want to tell you about what I listened to. And then, let's see. If he does attend Mass with you, one person asked about, like, what do I do if he attends Mass but he's not Catholic? Just gush over him. That is a beautiful gift. There are so many graces at Mass. Maybe take him to a traditional Latin Mass to see if that is more appealing to him. There's more grace over there. And then just make Sundays this beautiful day. Like, just serve him and love him well, and just gush over the fact that he went with you and that he is just such an amazing husband. He's so compassionate. He's showing how much he loves you because he's sacrificing his time for you, and just gush over it. So, all right. I think that's it. I'm going to pull up comments. I'm assuming there's a lot. Let's see. All right. Let's see here. Hello. Okay, I'm just going to read. Oh, let me go to live chat. Okay, so let's see. Corner says, hey, my husband is a very loving man, but he's always had a bit of an issue with lust. He has required me to wear clothes showing off my midriff in public, or requested. Okay, Corner. I don't know what your real name is, but I would say no, because no matter what, the very first thing that's required of yourself is insisting on being treated with dignity. And I don't know if you've read Dressing with Dignity yet, but that is he Catholic, your husband? I asked that just because that's, sorry, my lighting. Oh, my lighting. Okay, we're just going to leave that open. I asked that because he's obviously approaching you as almost like a thing and not, I mean, I don't know. I just would, Scotty says Jimmy Akins has an episode on that. Oh, about the warning? Nah, Jimmy Akins. So, I would have a very strong conversation. You said, how do I communicate with him? I want to obey him, but he finds it hard to control his lust. Okay, so, let me think through this for a minute. He probably thinks you're very beautiful, and he wants to show you off. But you are also a child of God, and we're supposed to model ourselves after our Blessed Mother. That doesn't mean we don't wear jeans. It doesn't mean that we don't dress in more modern clothes. But we certainly don't want to be dressing in a way where we don't feel respected and dignified by others. If we walk out of the house and we feel like all we are is an object of lust for other people, that's a huge problem, right? Because that affects how we feel about ourselves. And we are children of God. We are daughters of Christ. Like, we deserve to be treated with respect. In regards to your husband, that's a tricky one because sometimes men can seem lustful, but if you ask them, if you say, like, I feel like you're just using me, they may get really offended. Because, and if you're a man and you want to chime in, like, let me know. But, I'm just thinking that, like, from my own experience, when a husband lusts after a wife, a lot of times it's a longing to be together that goes beyond pure lust. Because lust is using somebody, right? If you look at Pope John Paul II's Love and Responsibility, the very first chapters, which is all I've gotten through, talk about the difference between loving something and using somebody. And we never ever want to use each other for sexual pleasure. Like, that's super inappropriate. We're supposed to be enjoying each other and coming together with intimate purposes as a unifying, opportunity, not because somebody is horny. So, I mean, that's part of it, but it's not like that shouldn't be the only reason that we're in a Catholic marriage, because it's not the purpose of it. I don't know what to do about it. I don't know what to tell you other than for you to insist on, I mean, I don't know. I don't have any, like, idea how you would help him. Do any guys have an idea? I mean, maybe watch, like, well, unprotected probably won't deal with that. It's gonna take prayer and conversations is all I can think of. Let's see. I'm sorry, I'm not more helpful there. I'm just, I'm wondering if maybe like Pints with Aquinas, like either, or Lily's, what's it, Lilies of the Field, if either Cameron Fradd or Matt Fradd have some kind of talk that might be helpful regarding like lust versus love, or that maybe you could like look up, and I'll look up some things and see if I can share down below once this is over. So Scotty, I don't know what Jamie Aiken says about the warning, but if it's negative, I don't really want to listen to him. I have issues with him sometimes. Yeah, I don't know about arranged marriages. Let's see. My cat. Lyrical Mike says, I'm a high school student. When I tell people I intend to wait until marriage, they get extremely shocked. How do you think the best way to convince people about the fruits of waiting until marriage? I have my ways of defending it, but I'm wanting your take on it. Oh, I heard something really good. So there's a documentary called Unprotected. And in that documentary, there's a lot of different interviews, like Christopher West is in there. I can't remember the answer right now, but if you watch that, or if you read Theology of the Body for Beginners, you know, sex is such an intimate expression of love, and Jesus Christ is like involved in our intimacy in our marriages. And so, and that's where the theology of the body comes in, and like the Holy Trinity and things. And so, you know, this gift of self to the other, it's so beautiful. And there is like, you know, sexual pleasure, but it's not like the main reason for coming together. And so when you give that gift away outside of marriage, it really is more about like lust. And it really is about using the other person. And even if you say you're in love and you're saying it's an expression of love, there's no commitment there. And so it's not really unifying in that sense. And actually, talking from, I'm almost 38, and every person I've ever seen that's had sex outside of marriage gets damaged in some way, to where it either affects their future relationships, because most of the time you're not ending up with the one person you slept with, and you know, there's hormones that come out of that act that when released, they make people think that they feel more strongly about that person than if they become less objective about the relationship, and it's harder to walk away. And so people can get trapped in relationships that, you know, they don't choose wisely, because they've you know, intimacy has come into play. I'm not sure if that helps, but that's kind of let's see. Hello everybody. Let's see what else I'm talking about here. My throat's starting to go, guys, so let me see if I'm just gonna pop in here. Okay, Shelby says, what is your advice to someone who would have to be a working mother? I am working and my husband's finishing up school. If we have a child, we will be okay, but I worry it wouldn't give it what it needs. Okay, first of all, let's think about this. What does a baby need? It needs its mom, right? I mean, hands down, it needs its mom. It needs love, food, shelter, warmth. So when people say, well, I can't have a baby because I don't have enough money, I guess my first question is, well, how much money does your husband make? And could you afford an apartment? Could you afford one car? Could you afford a cheaper life insurance? Could you stop putting into your 401k or whatever it is you're putting into? Could you defer your student loans? Whatever it is, monetarily wise, that makes you not, sorry, it's lighting, not ready to have a baby. It's time to, like, first of all, even if you start being open to life today, it doesn't mean you're going to be pregnant today. And that means you have 9 months to plan once you do become pregnant. But finances are the easiest thing for God to handle. I am hands down, you walk in trust. He will always provide enough money. It may not be the lifestyle you think you want with the big house and the fancy nursery with all the baby things, and maybe it is a 1-bedroom apartment. But I am telling you, the minute you become a mother, all that other stuff doesn't matter. Babies usually sleep. I co-slept with Chloe for like a year, I think. It was a long time. Neil didn't really want to co-sleep. But, my cat is howling. It's one of those things where if you came back, I love this idea from Dr. Laura. If you came back as a child, would you want your mom, a babysitter? What's the other option? Mom, daycare. Anyway, think about like who you'd want to care for you. Everyone always says, "Oh, I want my mom to care for me." So don't have kids if you can't care for your child, for sure. And that is, I go to argue that's an NFP reason, is that if you couldn't stay home with your kids. But at the same time, I would say that's possibly an NFP reason. I would also say that if you walk blindly in trust and are open to life, knowing that God wants you to stay home with your baby because that is the natural, orderly way of doing things, and it is the best way, and it is the way you would choose for yourself. We never want to treat our children differently than we would choose for ourselves. Then God will provide. But you also have to remember that Jesus Christ was born in a stable amongst the animals. And St. Joseph and Mother Mary didn't have any money. And it wasn't until the Magi showed up that they had any money. And that was almost 2 years later. So there's mystics that talk about St. Joseph begging for his bread. The idea that we're somehow supposed to be affluent in order to have children is ridiculous and anti-biblical. So I would much rather start raising children. I mean, speaking for someone who we may be infertile, and 2 is all we get, and that's from our own sin. And if I could do it all over again, I would get married at 18 and have like 10 babies. Because that is really the point of life. Nothing else really matters. If that makes sense. Okay. Let's see. St. Francis, 1982 says, what if he is non-Christian religion? Well, explain to me what religion. It still wouldn't try to change him. You still have to assume that is happening on his heart. That's the image of Jesus Christ knocking. There's no doorknob because Jesus Christ can't enter. He can only knock. If you live your faith, your Catholic faith well, and if you are growing in virtue, and if you are reading books like this, trying to become a better wife and mother, and walking in virtue and joyful, and coming back from Mass joyful, and being like, oh my gosh, Jesus Christ is in me. I'm just like so joyful right now. He is our Lord and Savior. I'm so happy. And you're praying, but yet you're doing you're living your vocation. Even if it takes like 5 years, every single moment that you walk with Christ and you do well, you are testifying to the truth. And he will come around because God wants everybody to be Christian. Let's see. I think it's important to mention it's against the Bible to marry a non-believer for those who aren't yet married. You may have already covered that. So SS, I don't know exactly what you're talking about unless you're talking about like the days of Moses and Leviticus and all the rules. But I will say that one thing I am going to be advising Chloe is to only date Catholics. Because life is way too hard. Life is way too hard. If people say marriage isn't hard, then they're not, I don't know what they're doing, but they may not be trying to make it a better marriage every day. If you don't share the faith with your husband or your wife, it makes raising children harder. It makes Sundays harder. It adds a lot of sorrow to your life. And so it just makes sense to date Catholics or people that are open to converting, to try to say, because you guys, there's no such thing as a soulmate. You have a choice on who you marry. You want to find someone that you want to suffer with, walk through life with, this valley of tears. And if you can't pray together, especially to the same God, it's going to make things a lot harder. Let's see. Shelby says, making Mass a special day actually got my then fiance really enjoying going to Mass with me. We will get coffee and discuss the homilies after. That's beautiful, Shelby. That's great. Yeah. We have so many women. You know why this is called the proper care and feeding? Just spit again. The proper care and feeding of husbands is because women naturally have so much innate power in a relationship. Men are born of women. Men are raised with women. They love their mothers, unless their mothers abuse them. They love their mothers. They have this, and if you have sons, you'll understand this, but it's just, or if you're a boy. And so when they marry a woman and they leave their family and they cling to their wife, you still have all the power. If I'm not happy, no one in my house is happy. And if I'm joyful, everyone else seems to be able to handle themselves a lot better. And so that's why Dr. Laura says, I made this book because women have all the power. And it's so true. What if you live in a society with no Catholics? It's not possible to convert people there. Step away. Yeah, I know you emailed me privately about that, and I asked Ryan what his thoughts were. And he would say that you should probably, that once you have converted to Catholicism, you're Catholic. And to marry someone outside of your faith just for the sake of getting married is probably not what God is asking you to do. Unless that person is also willing to convert. But if you're in a culture where there aren't any other Christians or Catholics, and I don't know if you can move, but you're going to have to discern it, because that marriage really is meant by God to worship together and to grow together and to raise a family together. And if you don't share the same faith, especially if it's a huge difference in culture, I don't know how you do that well. Okay. My throat is going, you guys. All right, let's see. Yeah, that's like a whole different, someone mentioned porn. That is a whole different topic, and we just need to pray for men. There's addiction levels in there. There's it rewires the brain. Matt Fradd has so many porn is just like such a demon in our society. Let's see. Soul ties. Yes. Armor of Deus, Catholic mom. I'm glad you mentioned that. So when you are intimate to get with somebody, I just heard about this recently, but you create soul ties, and sometimes they have to be like exercised, right? Like in order to separate them. So something to think about. Let's see. Diego's discerning marriage. Yeah, it's discern it. I told Chloe and Neil they're both going to be discerning the priesthood and being a nun, because they see marriage, but I want them to experience both before. I'm going to write that down. 2 Corinthians 6:14. I just saw you posted that. Sorry this video is a bit longer, but it's a big topic. Fiona in the kitchen, mommy. Yeah. Let's see. As someone who didn't wait, it makes it so hard to walk away from toxic relationships. Yes, it does. Let's see. All my happy memories of childhood are coming home to school to my mommy and the smell of dinner. Yeah, it's lovely. Lisa says, Shelby King, when we got married, we were both going to college. We thought we should do NFP. That only lasted what's TWOM? Oh, 2 months. We got pregnant 3 months later. We took turns taking care of our daughter. When she was 1, my husband started graduate school and I stayed home with her. Yeah, there are ways, like Lisa says, there's ways to do it, but I just think this surrender to God in NFP, I really, really pray that we get to be fertile so I can like walk this walk, but it's just so beautiful. And like I said, being on the other side of things and being like an older woman, I guess, for the sake that I'm almost like premenopausal, right? Not having more children is always going to be one of my biggest regrets in life. And I think that's pretty much across the board, whether people are Christian or not. They look back and they're, gosh, I wish I had 8 kids. And the struggle is what makes life worthwhile. Like this, there's so much beauty in the struggle. If life is an easy cakewalk and we have all the things and we just check the boxes. Have you ever met someone who's really wealthy and they're really unhappy and it's like they don't have to struggle for anything? Or you meet like the kids of rich people and the people that are wealthy had to work for that, but then their kids didn't have to work for anything and they just are lost. You know? So don't run from the struggle. Let's see. Okay. Have you ever dated and found out that you aren't right for each other, then started discussing religious life? That sounds like a good talk. Lisa said, by the time my husband started a real job, we have 3 kids, ages 4, 3, and just turned 1. We always had enough. Now our oldest is 17, our youngest of 9 is 12 months. Oh my gosh, Lisa, you are so blessed. And I know you wouldn't change anything, right? Like, it's such a beautiful testimony. Okay, Essa says, do not choose to bear the yoke with unbelievers. How can justice be a participant with iniquity? Or how can the fellowship of light be a participant with darkness? I mean, yeah, ideally you marry. I mean, people make, the problem is that, here's the thing about Catholics today, at least from my perspective. We are not taught these kinds of things, a lot of us. Or we weren't. So we were driven by the world when we chose our spouses. Especially if you were intimate first. Because, like I said, that changes the whole coloring of your relationship. And if you're not tracking the importance of your faith, or if you're a lukewarm Catholic or a cafeteria Catholic, which means you pick and choose what you want to believe regarding like abortion, I mean not abortion, but, well, sometimes, but contraception and living together and all the things, then you're not going to make the same decisions. And God uses those. While it's better to marry a Catholic, Ryan's always saying, you know, if I hadn't married him, of course he was Catholic by the time we got married, I guess, but that wasn't the plan. So it's just one of those things where, like, I never want to cast stones, because a lot of people convert within their marriage, and it's God uses it as a testimony to the unbeliever. So, but if you're dating, again, yeah, date a Catholic. Lisa says, my husband's salary has always been enough. Just want to tell her story. No, it's beautiful. I don't know if arranged marriage is a part of Catholicism. My husband married me even though I was never interested in being Catholic. I converted 10 years later. He asked for a few things. Our children get baptized and raised in faith. This helped. Yeah, so like Michelle is saying, she converted 10 years later, but how beautiful, you know, being in that. Let's see. Lou says, I speak from experience when I say I completely agree with you about having a spouse who isn't Catholic so difficult. Yeah, I hear about it. I have friends. I have viewers in the community, and yeah. Let's see. Daryl says, I am from a Muslim country, and even among our Catholics here, not many think of marriage for the purpose of raising a family. Pretty tough to find a significant other here. I'm sorry. That's hard. It's probably hard just to be a Catholic in a Muslim country, I would think. All right. Okay, guys, 5 more minutes, and I'm going to stop chatting with you. What are your views on non-traditional marriage? Well, explain to me what a non-traditional marriage is. SS says, you're preaching to the choir, Laura. I'm not casting stones. Oh, I'm not saying you are. I married someone I didn't realize was an alcoholic and drug addict and tried to kill me. I'm remarried to a believer now, but can't be a Catholic because I'm divorced. Haven't we talked about this before? That doesn't make any sense that you should be able. SS, have we talked about this before? Because I can't see how you can't be a Catholic. Can you get annulment? Alright, guys. It looks like I got to the end of the thread. So I want to end. Watch this. Watch this. This is so fun. Where'd it go? Wait for it. There we go. All right, so I want to end with an Ave Maria. Thank you so much for talking to me about marriage. It's such a big topic. Send me more questions and we'll do another one of these like next month. But I really encourage you to read one of the books, or both of the books. And but we're going to pray an Ave Maria. We're going to pray for an Ave Maria for all those discerning marriage, for all those looking for the right spouse, for all those in a marriage, for all those who are married to a non-believer or who have a hard marriage. So let's end this with an Ave Maria. And the words are on the screen there. So, in nome Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, benedicta tu mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Jesus. Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostrae. Amen. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. All right, so I just want to encourage you guys to like the video, to comment down below. Let's talk about marriage down below in the comments. Share this video, especially if you know somebody who's discerning marriage or interested in marriage. I mean, if you know anyone who's married at all, like, it'd be a good thing to share. And I'll be back next week. We're going to talk about the lies that are told to women by society and how feminism has infiltrated Catholic women's lives. So there's probably going to be a little bit of overlap in subject matter, but I really want to talk about what I see regarding feminism within the Catholic circle. It was all inspired by something I saw on Instagram. So, but have a beautiful day, and like I said, let's chat in the comments. God bless. Bye. If I can turn it off.